We are good.
Okay, I'm gonna just hope to God that this all runs smoothly. Yeah.
Who needs it to run smoothly, you know? Also, just for context, I've been up for about 34 minutes.
Wow, I have been up much longer than you.
Are we really surprised about that?
No.
Because I stay up until about the time he wakes up. So
yes. Okay. We haven't even. Okay. Three.
We're not even a minute in, and we've already broke him.
3, 2, 1, and now we're starting the podcast.
Ha!
Hello. What's our intro?
Hi.
We never figured this out because we had to change it from last time.
We're KOZIES. Hello, welcome to the KOZIES.
Isn't it KOZIES? Welcome to KOZIES. Or
hello, welcome to KOZIES.
Because we ended up not choosing to do the KOZIES, just KOZIES.
Right, it's just KOZIES.
So it's
which we need to change that. Wait, no, we don't. Never mind. Ignore me.
Wait. Yeah, we can't. Okay, cool. So we are going to be figuring things out quite a bit in this one, because the first one we thought we got things figured out, and we were like, oh yeah, we got an intro and all that. We were wrong, and turns out that there's another place called KOZYcast, which, I mean, admittedly they're probably way better than us, but we're trying our best here.
That's what matters.
That is exactly what matters. So I'm really excited for this one. I was telling Josh here off camera that I'm really excited because now I have no idea what the topic is, and I'm just excited to see what's going to happen. But before we do that, before we get onto the topic, please, can we make up an intro? KOZIES.
Welcome to.
Her name is KOZIES, right? So
yeah,
like KOZIES.
So how is that an intro?
So like KOZIES, my guy. All right, hear me out. KOZIES. Okay, all right. Okay, KOZIES.
Okay. You got nothing, do you?
I have literally nothing. I have absolutely nothing. It is just empty in my brain right now. Except for this sweet Dr. Pepper, not sponsored because we aren't popular enough for that.
We're gonna make you pity us. That's how this is gonna
Apparently, work. I guess that's the vibe we're going for this one. I dropped my lid. Ignore everything.
Maybe welcome to KOZIES, where that.
Just welcome to KOZIES.
Yeah.
All right. If we come up with anything smarter than that, then we'll definitely do that.
Right now, brains are big empty, so who knows how that'll work.
Bro, what about, okay, comment section, if you end up commenting, dude, please help. What about come be cozy with KOZIES? Maybe.
That's good.
Maybe.
That's good.
Can we do that? Do you think we can write that down? Right.
I think we can write that down.
Okay, well, we are KOZIES.
We're doing.
Well,
come be cozy at the KOZIES.
Yeah, KOZIES. Okay, KOZIES. We can do like, we are cozy. No. Okay, come be cozy with KOZIES.
Hey.
Come be cozy with KOZIES. That sounds more like an advertisement thing, less than an intro. Maybe like that could be like an that could be like an outro, maybe. Like, make sure to hit that. Make sure to hit that subscribe and notification bell so that you can come be cozy with KOZIES.
Hey, I like that.
Okay. So that could be an outro, but now I have no way to start the end. This is the beginning. Okay, well, just all right.
Let's just move on from this because we're getting nowhere.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Unless we have an outro, maybe.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think. Anybody who finds this. So I'm excited. What's the topic for today?
You're gonna love this one.
Oh.
Being a high schooler during a pandemic.
Oh my. Okay. Well, here we go. We're about to go ham. Or, I don't know. I have a lot of opinions on this.
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
But we have the mics, so shut up.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's what I'll say. The educational system, trying to handle everything COVID-wise, it's tough. COVID just came out of nowhere. It came out of left field, and just everyone was faced with it, and people were forced to just adapt really quickly. It's my personal opinion that the educational system could have thought a little bit more about...
At least where we are.
At least where we are. Could have thought a little bit more about the logistics of how things work. Because where we were, in the district that we were, the changes that were made were very not smart. They changed like everything, like ordering, schedule, days back to back. They changed every little detail about how things go about, and then people could choose if they wanted to go one way, and people could choose if they wanted to go another way. I mean, it's just...
Back to the schedule thing. So it took them the whole last summer between our sophomore and junior year to decide the schedule.
Yeah.
And then, so they finally put it out the Friday before school starts.
Yeah.
And then that Sunday, do you remember what they did? They said, this isn't the correct schedule. Here's the new one.
Yeah. It was so rough because before the school year started for us, we've been checking the website and all of that, and we've been checking and being like, okay, well, this is what it says here. But then on his side, it said like the exact opposite, and we were like, what? What
we were so confused.
What are we supposed to do? And their instructions were very confusing. And again, everyone had to adapt really like a ton during when COVID hit. Like people had to just adapt. And
yeah,
you know, it's expected that things are going to be a little rough. But at the same time, I feel like there were some simpler solutions. Like instead of splitting the school in half, I don't know how they split the school thing in half. Do they have like a list of all the students and then just say, all right, these last 4 pages are going to be on a different day? What?
Who knows?
But it was like, it might have been better if instead of changing the entire schedule, where like originally you had like a certain day for one class and then the next day would be a different set of classes. But instead, what they decided,
to let the brains breathe.
Yeah, but this, for some reason, it was like set of classes for one group and then set of classes for another group, and then do that same process for the other set of classes, and it would be back to back to back to back to back. And that was really confusing at the beginning because you would be like, if you were full distance, for example, like we were eventually, you would have to be like, oh, what day am I going again? And then it was just really complicated with everything, like the different sign-ins for different classes, because every different class period had a different way of going about dealing with their full distance learners, or any time there was a distance learner, you had to sign in a different way. So yeah, it was just really complicated when you'd be like, okay, so this is the day I'm on, after figuring that out eventually. And then you'd go to your class and be like, wait, how do I check in? Is there a Teams call? Is there a Zoom call? And every class was different in any regard. I mean, one of my classes was just like, sign into this website that you have been given at the top of the thing and has been hidden by every other text that has been in this channel. Click on this one site.
No one thinks about that.
Yeah, click on this one site and then sign in, and then I'll check your attendance that way. And I was just like, that was fine and dandy if that was the only way that you had to deal with it. But then you also had like forms to sign in, and it just caused for a lot of attendance issues, which I think is a big problem.
57 absences. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's definitely how I would be if I was going in person or was. I don't know. Again, it was a rough situation to have to just suddenly be, faced with something like that. But at the same time, it's like, geez, man.
Really quickly, let's talk about the lectures that they give.
Mm-hmm.
And how they balance the lectures with the schoolwork.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I gotta say this about lectures, just because it's made my brain think about this. This is not at all for all teachers in any regard, but I did notice that for some teachers were very against having any students be full distance. Like, they hated the idea that we even had to do any changes, even though we're dealing with a pandemic. And that would be fine, except for when I went full distance, I had a teacher that greatly, I think, impeded my learning process, because I would be, we would sign in for a call, and this teacher, I kid you not, I've probably told you about this, for 30 minutes straight in the beginning of the class, this teacher would be telling you how if you're full distance, you're going to fail this course. And it was just like 30 minutes of my learning time gone because people were upset over the fact that any changes had to be made. It's like, look, I can understand you being upset, but please do not tell the full distance people, including myself at one point, that you're just going to fail over and over and over again and then not teach me anything about how to succeed in your class. Like, that is, of course, a very specific course, like a specific, point, but it's just kind of ridiculous that, that's what happened, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, well, like, why spend the half an hour ranting about it when you can actually spend the half an hour trying to help them succeed?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest problem with that bugged me personally was the fact that everyone's having to adapt. Everyone has to change to fit circumstances. That's the way humans have existed for years, billions of years, is that you have to adapt to new circumstances to continue to survive and deal with things and learn and do all those things. And yet, for some reason, as soon as COVID hit, suddenly throughout the entire world, everyone was suddenly freaking out because they don't want the change. It almost became painfully, like, I think, honestly, COVID just forced everyone to realize that you need to be adaptable. You can't just be like, I'm not gonna wear a mask.
We saw how that turns out. Also, don't fucking hoard toilet paper, for the love of God.
Dude, I gotta say, that was the funniest part of 2020, was watching videos of people just like there was a clip that I watched that was just a bunch of people like walking in a store and they're all like zombies, and they just like walk over to the toilet paper and then they just start like grabbing it and they're like, oh.
I'm not saying it wasn't hilarious. I'm just saying it was dumb as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, like, like, can we please have some like economy here and have like some social awareness that everybody needs to be able to wipe their ass?
It's just like, you can only use paper towels for so long before it starts chafing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, dude, it was like, I don't know, like, outside of the high school setting, because honestly, the high school setting was fine. It just caused, for someone like me who gets distracted like in an instant, and who constantly wants to be working on music, or constantly wants to be working on writing, or wants to be reading, or wants to be just watching YouTube, wasting my life away. For someone who's just very distractible, having everything switch was not the problem. It actually was kind of interesting, but it was how it switched in such a unorganized way. It wasn't easy to follow along, and that caused my brain to like kind of be like, oh man, I gotta adapt really hard on this one. And Which, again, I gotta say, being able to change is great, and being able to adapt is fantastic. However, in a school setting, the amount of change that people made wasn't healthy for the students.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. And the problem I have with it is, like, let's say they were forced to do this specific type of schedule that they implemented in our school system. I'd be fine. Okay, well, then that's the only option. All right, that makes sense. You know, I got to deal with it. This is what's going on. It's the fact that there were so many other options that were a lot simpler that I think bothered me the most, was just that, like, the schooling system could have just dealt with it better. And it didn't need to force its students to adapt so much. I mean, you know, I can't complain so much, because it gives me more experiences, and it gives you more experiences, and, you know, it's fine and dandy. But I definitely think that with the way the world was already going into chaos with the rise of Karen,
oh my god,
I have a couple stories about that. With the rise of that, you know, it felt like, okay, well, world's already complicated, and you're just making it more complicated for basically no reason. Like, I'm already having to adapt to everything else. It'd be nice to not have to completely change the way I view how I go about school too, you know?
Yeah. And I know there are some kids who are doing really well in this kind of system that they have in place.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not one of them.
Yeah, same.
Because
I'm
like
so distractible.
For me too, it's like, because they expect you to stay on for the entire lecture. Number one, when they already have the notes online. And number two, it's like, because I'm the type of person, like, if you give me the work, I'm going to get it done at the beginning of the class. Even if it's meant to be done later in the class. I'm just going to get it done at the beginning of the class, because I don't want to have to think about it. So my thing is, like, I do the work, I get off the call. That's like...
Well, the thing is that I did about it that was working great for me, but I was so bothered by the fact that we had to stay through the whole lecture, was the fact that all of the work, like for my classes personally, all of the work was put out in assignment form and put out in all the little, like, files that we needed to deal with, all the different homework. We had a schedule for it that we could follow as a syllabus that we could just get it done. And for the beginning of the second semester of this year, I was 3 weeks ahead in every single class in assignment form, and I would turn in my assignments as soon as they dropped. But for me, I was just like, all right, well, I have all these assignments, but I'm just supposed to stay in this class? Like, I'm already, like, 2 weeks ahead. And then I just started to fall behind, because it was like, all right, it was like being dragged. It was like, I was getting it done at my own pace, and I was still being just dragged along when I was trying to finish it off quickly, which bothered me. I think that's understandable, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, so and then didn't they they took down the assignments that were put up ahead, and then just dropped them as they went? Because apparently students being proactive about that when it's not on the teacher's schedule is an issue.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think about that, because it was so that honestly that was, I think, what really got me to just, like, kind of start pulling back on, like, trying so hard to, like, get everything done early and done, was because like, before, they had the assignments, like, pulled up, like, at the beginning of the class, so I could come in, drop the assignment, be out. And then I would stay in the class, but I would typically just kind of, like, wander about and be like, okay, whatever. But then to force the students to be in the class the whole time, they would drop the assignments at the end of the class, and you wouldn't know exactly when it would drop. And so you would just be like, okay, I'm gonna get in the call, and I'm gonna sit here and I'll watch a movie for some reason. And I'm gonna, okay, all right. And that's, like, it's cool. And, you know, like, some of the assignments you had to do during the class period, and that on those days you just show up and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna get this assignment done. But oftentimes it was just homework assignments that you would get done on your own time, and then you could just turn it in.
Yeah. Because it's just, one of the experiences I had was for my science class. They have these like little lecture things you have to do, which is like answer some questions from the lecture. And this pertains to what I said earlier, where all the notes were already up on Teams, where I could easily access them. So what I would do is like, because they drop like the night before, I think, or like before class started at least. So I would go look at the notes, and then I would just do the lectures before class started.
Yeah.
And then I think I got an email from my teacher being like, hey, stop doing the lectures before I do the lecture because you don't know what you're doing until I do the lecture. I didn't even respond. I was just like, fine, whatever. Because it's just like, I'm doing this when it works for me, and I'm getting in trouble for it.
I don't know. See, the thing that bothers me about that is, like, for example, in my math class the year before COVID happened, in that class, I didn't pay attention to my teacher at all, and I just watched Khan Academy videos at the beginning of the class. I found out what the subject was. I did the Khan Academy video, like, on my own time, watched like a 5-minute video teaching me how to do the subject that would have taken an hour for them to teach me. And then I just did the homework at the beginning of class, and then I did whatever I want, like, during the class. And my teacher was very cool with me because I was getting A's and B's on anything because I was just learning it at my own pace. And I think that worked really well for just how my brain like wants to deal with things. And when it came to this, it was like, well, my brain wants to just like get it done really quickly and then put it in and then be like, okay, moving on. We're moving on. We're doing something else. We're doing something I want to do, or doing something that doesn't pertain to this. And it just wants to go. But it forced my brain to slow down. And so it was just like, you know what, fine. I'll just slow down even more. And then I'm just like, wait, no, please don't slow down that much. Please. I'm failing. I'm failing. Please, God, I'm drowning. Oh no.
Yeah, because I think school systems as a whole need to be more amenable to students teaching themselves.
I kind of agree with that to some degree, and my thoughts on that are that, like, as a student, you know, I'm gonna preface this really fast because talking about the school system, you know, and the different opinions here, it can come off as immature, and you know, it's like, oh well, you know, you don't know what's going on there, you don't know how this goes. My mother is a teacher, and we've had conversations about this stuff, and you know, it is kind of agreeable between us two, at least, that the school system could benefit from a lot of changes to adapt itself to making the students learn for themselves and not learn because you're supposed to. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's kind of like, this is, and tell me if you agree with me, when you are learning something like, let's say, FL Studio, when you first got FL Studio and you were really enjoying it, all the information you learned in a video, in a lecture type format, that information, correct me if I'm wrong, was retained like instantaneously because you were like so into it, you were so enjoying it, and it was just like the way it goes. When you are finding out random facts about things that you might not personally have, like if you was put into a school format and that was just like, oh, you're supposed to learn this, let's say outside of school, you learn that same fact and you're like, oh man, that's actually really interesting. You retain it. But then you go into a school setting that's like, here's this, you're going to need to know this, take a note on it, do this, you're supposed to know this, make sure you know this because you got to go into a test and then know this so that you can put this on the test and then show that you know this. It's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to retain this until I get to the test and then it's gone.
Yeah, and I think kind of the big difference there is you seeking out the information as opposed to having the information thrust upon you.
The most fun projects and the most fun homework assignments that I personally love to do are the ones that make me search for like information on things, because I love the like hunt to like find out like, well, why, what exactly like sparked this instant or this event. You know, when a teacher presents me with a project that is like, yeah, just have fun, figure it out, see what goes on, and then tell me about it, I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm down. But when it's faced to me like, you need to do this because I'm assigning it to you and I just need you to know this for the test, I'm a little bit like, my brain, I think personally, is kind of turned off. And again, this is just how I think we work. You know, every student is different, and I think,
yeah, for sure.
And the biggest thing about every student is different is the fact that the schooling system very much seemingly kind of leans heavily towards the people that thrive in the environment that we're given. You know, they're just on it. They get an assignment and they're on it. They're just going through the motions, basically. I personally, again, this is all personal opinions. I personally just do not thrive in a go through the motions kind of deal. I like to explore and, you know, figure things out and kind of just connect dots on my own. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on this?
So my thoughts are at least, and then again, this is my personal opinion.
Yeah, we can't preface that enough.
Don't come at me in the comments, or do, because that means you're watching our video.
That's true.
Hey, a view is a view. Anyway, but for me, at least, I can't do something unless I know how and why it's going to benefit me past a fucking test.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, listen, I get it. You know, you got to study for a test or whatever the fuck, because tests are apparently important, even though they're worth less than homework.
And some.
I'm not going to get... Yeah. Yeah, because like in some of my classes, homework is like 25, tests are 20. I'm like, the fuck's up with that? I'm not going to get into that right now because that's a whole different thing. But so if a teacher is like, hey, you need to do this because I told you to, that's not a good enough reason for me. Mm-hmm. That's not enough to motivate my brain to be like, hey, that's a priority that needs to get done. I need to feel like it's going to have some impact on my life beyond just getting a good grade on the test.
Yeah, I can understand that. You know, it's like I don't know. I definitely agree with that to some degree because you know, I think my brain is similar. It's like, well, why do I gotta know this so much? What is this gonna? How is this gonna benefit me? Because I think for us, you know, we've had conversations about this where for us, our clear goal in life is that we really want to make music. We want to go to college for music. We want to learn how the inner workings of sound design and get really good at it so that we can just go full on in and make that a living. But when in high school, you have all these different classes you're supposed to do that are supposed to lead you in the direction of where you want to go and let you figure it out. But for someone who has figured it out and they're like, I have a pure goal. This is what I want. I know it. Yeah. I know this 100%. Then you're just kind of like, why do I got to go through the menial stuff over here or this like repetitive stuff? I don't know.
And I think it'd be different.
Get to the point.
Yeah, and I think it'd be different if there was like a music production class.
Oh God, yes, I would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, or maybe because like our school, this is like, it's not very amenable to some of those like farther out things, because like there's no class on, you know, really marketing or how to do that if you're going into that kind of business, or, and again, like music production. Like those other small things that can turn into big things. There's not really that many classes for that. Yeah. They're focused on like the big three of like you can go into a career involving writing, you can go into a career involving math, or you can go into a career involving science. And some, like, those are the three they're pushing so hard.
Yeah, and some schools do have that, but for I think most schools they don't really have that kind of branching out towards music production at the very least.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
in college, I'm really excited for the music production courses there because I want to get into sound design so hard, and just learn how to do that. But
Yeah.
high school right now is just a stepping stone, and you have to get through it. You have to get through it. And I don't think we're docking points off of high school or anything like that. It's always good experiences.
Yeah.
And you always have to just be, it's a clear stepping stone that you got to go through to get to whatever you want to do. And I don't think we're docking points on that. I think it's more that we're talking about how it could be improved to benefit students' learning in the long run.
Yeah.
Because if, let's say, I'm growing up student, and because I feel like every human being to some degree is naturally curious, and they're naturally inclined to find things out. But when you're forced to seek something out that interests you, when you're forced to go towards a subject, then you're turned off from it to some degree. And I think that when you allow yourself to just explore and learn things, your brain will naturally be like, oh, that's really cool. Whatever I'm seeing, like when you're young, you see a freaking tree and you're like, that's bark. That looks weird. You poke it and you're like, that feels weird. You like stroke it. You're like, ow, I have a splinter in my finger. That's weird.
You put it in your mouth and you taste it. You do that kind of shit.
And you're just like, you're naturally inclined to be like, this is strange. What is going on here? And then let's say someone was just let roam to like learn things, they're going to become curious about a lot of different things, and they'll learn a lot. And I feel like if schools could somehow harness that natural curiosity in someone, I feel like students could just be so much more inclined to be curious and so much more inclined to learn about the world they're in,
Yeah, and probably like stress levels would probably just decrease.
Yeah, because then you'd be enjoying what you're doing and what you're finding out. I wish, like, there's a school out there. I'm not sure what it is, but I remember researching it, and it's a school where basically everything you learn is hands-on and going outside, and like for like projects, you actually have to go out into like the woods and like take samples and do all this stuff, and it was really cool. And I feel like it really benefits the whole natural curiosity thing, because Albert Einstein, Newton, they all were naturally curious about what was going on in the world around them, and that fascinated them. That made them like discover the things that are so base in like basic that we know.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we could just harness that and push that into people's minds and just like create and really further the curiosity about the world around us. I mean, dude, sometimes my brain has thoughts and I'm like, I really want to know why that is. Whenever I look at a river, for example, because I went to like a river and like little streams, whenever I look at those, I'm always fascinated by just how water moves. It's so weird how like every little like bit of it just like blends together and forms this cohesive movement,
Yeah.
And that's just fascinating. That's so cool. And my brain just thinks about that. I mean, like that one experience that we had where I went on like a rant and I just told the same fact about sleep over and over and over again because I was so like blown away by how the brain works. The fact that you go to sleep because there is a constant cycle in your brain that is constantly happening where adenosine is being produced in your mind throughout the entire day, right? And then it attaches itself to the neurons in your mind. and starts to turn those neurons off. So when it's nighttime, the reason you get tired is because your brain literally is being stopped. It's like, bro, stop. I need you to stop. And then when you go to sleep, that adenosine is being worked through in your mind and being like broken down, and then that allows for dopamine to help you like wake up in the morning. Like, that's so freaking cool. The fact that is like, just constantly happening. And I learned that just because my brain was like, I really want to know what's going on there.
It's just natural curiosity, I think, is the best motivation of anything out there.
Yeah.
Whether it be like jobs, money, good grades, whatever the fuck. I think natural curiosity is the best motivation there is.
I think, honestly, like in the growing years of a child's life, if the school system, like when they're in pre-K, first grade, all those different grades in elementary school, if the teachers could somehow, like, if a system could be put in place where teachers, instead of enforcing what we do in middle school and all that, and teaching responsibility heavily, in elementary at the very least, in elementary school, you teach the natural curiosity. You explore natural curiosity, and you just let the mind roam, and you let everything around the students just kind of like, just let it sink into their minds, right? And then in middle school, you can start to have that transfer into trying to be more responsible about turning in assignments and all that stuff. And of course, this is all very rough, and you'd have to come up with a system to make sure that things work. But that's kind of what I'm getting at, is if we could just work a way into just pushing for, just let the mind be what it already is, curious, let it be, let people adapt, let people explore and change based on the world around them.
I think in my opinion a great way to do that would be to take away the stress of having to turn in assignments. Or like grading assignments in elementary school. Because if you can just let kids kind of be curious about things and do things at their own pace, and then slowly start to integrate, hey, there's going to be some deadlines, but like keep the curiosity open.
Like, I understand, like, okay, you have subjects, so you got to teach those subjects. But if we could, like, even in math, if there was a way to somehow integrate natural curiosity into math, that would be incredible. Because math is interesting. The way patterns work in math is interesting, but it is so hard to go through 20 questions of the same damn formula.
Because it's just like, I feel like what they should do is, and like this is specifically for math, it's like they should have a minimum question. It's like, hey, you can do minimum 5, like you can do minimum of 5, or you can do like 5 or above. But it's like that, as opposed to you have to do 20, and anything less than that is like, it lowers your grade.
Yeah,
because like some kids need all the 20 questions to like get that ingrained in their brain. There's some kids who just need the 5.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with that, and of course, this is a very difficult topic because, in all reality, the idea of implementing natural curiosity into learning is ridiculously hard. Like. Yeah, trying to imagine how to implement that into subjects like math is kind of hard to fathom, because math is such a regimented thing, and they all build off of one another, and you gotta like really figure things out. But I mean, how would you implement that?
I think would be to make them ask questions.
Yeah.
About it. And well, like, not in a way it's like, I'm not going to tell you unless you ask type thing, but like phrase things in a way that encourages the kids to be like, hey, I noticed you said this. How does this pertain to this? And then so on and so on.
I love math. I love English. Because it can be used for everything. Language is just beautiful. English language can be a little bit bothersome sometimes, but it's fine.
3 words that are spelled the same that mean completely different things.
Yeah, that one thing that's like, if you read red like red, then you must reread this. If you read like red, that you get the point.
Yeah. Fuck read and read.
Dude, that's
essentially what it's saying.
I feel like a child when they're first introduced to that word is just like, wait, but, huh?
Because it's spelled exactly the same.
It's exactly the same, yeah.
This brings me to another topic that I am realizing is that schools aren't teaching cursive anymore.
I know, and cursive is beautiful.
I'm like, I mean, to be fair, you don't use it for much more than signing your name, but that's
True.
fucking important. Like, it's good to know it.
Yeah, it is true. It's good to just know it. And it's honestly like, it's kind of like a forgotten art at this point. Like, I only remember learning it a little bit, like once or twice a week, and once or twice a month in like first and second grade. And then I don't think I ever learned it after that.
Yeah. I mean, because like, well, it's not that hard of a thing to learn, and like once you learn it, you never really you can't get rid of it.
Yeah, at least to some of the letters. Like I haven't practiced it in a while, and I just remember like the letters.
I know, like I mean, to be fair, the letter I can't remember like Z or Q or like some of those.
Weirdly enough, I can remember Z. Considering it's a part of my name.
The main letters. Oh well, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
But like the main letters, I can remember those super easy, because well, and I feel like schools nowadays are focusing much more on the typing aspect.
Yeah, which I mean, you know, it's moving towards a more technological era.
And I'm not saying that like learning how to type is a bad thing and focusing on that is a bad thing at all. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there needs to come a point where you have to find the right balance between technological teaching and teaching on paper.
Yeah, I mean, I can get that for sure. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's a really, the schooling system is very complicated, and I feel like at the beginning of this we were kind of having a rough time explaining our thoughts, but I think one of the best ways that we can really explain it is the trouble with having everything, because COVID happened, right? And everything went a completely new direction in the schooling system, and in an educational system that was already struggling to capture the natural curiosity of people, the new setting, it's almost impossible to capture that. And it's so for us, I think, you know, because other people thrive, but for us as students, as high school students, and you know, I feel like this is you know, applicable to some other students, I'm sure, you know, it can become very difficult to put your mind to something when you're like, well, I'm not sure I'm very curious about this right now, but I'm very interested in something that's going on here. And then your mind just really wants to hone in on what that is and what's going on there. I want to be an expert in the fact that's going on. Like, I want to be an expert in why that tree looks the way it does. I want to be an expert in why that bush is looking at me funny. I want to be an expert on the way, why and how a water moves so freaking cool. Okay,
it's like I want to be an expert in, you know, what causes us to get tired, or you know, how to manipulate a sound to get it to like appear and sound the way I want.
And dude, the fact that there is not a section in school that talks about dreams is messed up, because dreams dreams are fascinating. Okay,
they're like, okay, so like last night I had a dream Pikachu playing ping pong with Obama.
Dude, dreams
can't fucking explain it.
Like, please, like, because I was reading like an article and stuff, and I was watching some podcasts or listening to some podcasts, and it was like really cool, and I was interested, and it came to my realization that, or it was explained to me that scientists know so little about dreams and exactly how they form, besides, you know, it's the subconscious. But like, I just want to know more.
I want to know what causes them to get so goddamn weird sometimes.
I know, dude. Like, okay, I can get behind my subconscious, you know, telling me some anxiety stuff. All right, I'm an anxious person. I can get behind like having a dream, you know, and it's like, because I had a dream once that was really sad, where I was like in a piano room, and everybody, like all my friends were in the piano room looking at the piano, and I was trying to like touch them, and I couldn't touch them, and then they like weren't looking at me, and then I would try to play the piano, and my hands would just fall through the piano, and it was like a very anxious dream about just being completely left alone. And people, like, it was almost like a dream about suicide, and I was like, Jesus Christ. I woke up and I was like, I am depressed.
Not sleeping tonight again.
And you know, like, I can get behind a dream like that being my subconscious, but tell me how I can get a dream about being on a swing and there's a game show going on where if you fail a question, you freaking blow up and your body explodes on the walls. Tell me how that's my subconscious. What thought that I'm not dealing with caused that?
I don't know. It's whack as fuck.
Like, for me, maybe it's the fact that, like, I didn't get a question right, but I don't really think I think about that stuff very much. So why am I thinking about, like, oh, you get a question wrong, your brains are now on the ceiling? And keep in mind, I had this dream when I was in 6th grade, and I still remember it.
And that's especially weird because you can't remember 90% of the dreams you have.
I know. My dreams typically just fade into existence. I like wake up with like a feeling in my bones, and I'm like, I just had a terrible dream, but I cannot remember what it was. And then I want to know more about sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis freaks me out, and I am like, every time I go to bed, I've never had it, but I'm always terrified that I'm gonna, because I think there was a moment in my past that I think I was this close to having it, and the reason I think I was close to it but I wasn't having it is because I had a dream that I woke up and then a creature came out from my legs and attacked me, and then I went and I slammed on the bed, but then the second I slammed on the bed, I was sitting up in my own bed, and I was just like breathing heavily, and like it to this day, that dream freaks me out because it was like Inception, because I was asleep. I went to bed, right? I wake up feeling like I've woken up. I get hit in the head by this creature coming at me, and at the second my head hits the back of my bed, I'm suddenly sitting up, awake.
And you're like, what the fuck happened?
And I'm just like, and then I remember looking around, and I looked over and I thought I saw something move in the shadows, and I was like, I'm fucked up. And then
lights on.
And I couldn't sleep. And this is when my mom and I were sharing a room in Seattle at the time, and she was on, like, we had a bunk bed, and she was on the bottom bed and I was at the top. This is like, must have been 4th grade, maybe even 3rd grade, something like that. And what caused the 3rd grader to have a dream like that? But like, I wake up and I look around, and I swear to God, I look over and I thought I saw something open the door to the room, and it was completely pitch black, but I just saw the glint of something move and a small like creak.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, I could just feel the air like just moving, and I was like, nope, 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 nope. And I was awake the rest of the night, and I was terrified, and I was like, I am so not okay. I feel uncomfy. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I want it, like, if schools could just like feel the natural curiosity of something like that, like figuring out like how have us solve modern problems, like have us like have a modern, like I would love it if high school freshman year, you like the school year opens up with a question that scientists are still struggling to answer today, and throughout the year you're left to ponder it. Like you write an essay on what you think about at the beginning of year about this scientific problem, and as you learn about it, you're motivated to answer this question, to like be competitive. I want to be the first to figure out this question. You know, I'm a competitive person. If I was faced with something like that, I'll be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna break some damn records. I'm gonna figure this out. Then I would search up every freaking detail I could possibly think of to figure out a theory about how to answer that. I would be so involved.
Well, yeah, it's just, again, because natural curiosity is the biggest motivator.
Yeah, I mean, like, you retain information like nobody's business when you're just interested.
Well, yeah, because you don't, like, when you're interested, you don't even really have to take notes.
Yeah.
You just read it, and it's in your brain.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's just like, of course you can never know how it all play out, you know? You'd have to actually go through it. But, I mean, damn, does it sound like it would work.
It does, and like, I mean, and again, it might not work for everyone, but if that could just be an option.
Yeah. Like, be faced with a question, and you just are left to ponder it, and if you want to try and solve it, you know, go for it. I don't know. Yeah. It's just, like, this is, of course, our personal, you know, things that might help us out, but, you know, it could help out other people, and it could be a nice direction I think the educational system could take. And, you know, I don't know. I would love to see comments that are just talking about this, because to me, this kind of subject on how to deal with school and like how to influence change and stuff like that. Like, I feel like it could be so good. Like, I mean, think about it in COVID standards. Like, because at the beginning of this, you know, this is what we started at, right? You started off, you know, and the school year's going. And then, you know, we have this full distance change, right?
Yeah.
If we had been fueled by natural curiosity, I feel like when we were faced with more time to ourselves, if we were already naturally fueled by curiosity on subjects that we were being taught, we would have gone into full distance and been like, amazing, I have more time to just figure out this problem.
Yeah. And it could have spent a time like that as opposed to recuperating from the way school, because school's just draining the way it is now.
Yeah, it's like, it is. It really is.
And I think, and I'm going to compare school to like having a job really quick for just a quick second. Because when you have a job, when you leave that job, you don't have to think about that job most of the time.
True.
I mean, there are some jobs that are the exception. But for most jobs, at least for where we are, you leave the job, you don't have to think about the job until you have to go back to the job. Mm-hmm. You know, simple as that. With school, you have to think about it 24/7. Like, even once that final bell rings, you still have a stutter, first and foremost. But like, once that final bell rings, you still have shit to do when you get home for school.
Yeah.
You can never fully relax.
Which I think,
like, some people.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
All I was gonna say about that is, you know, like, that it just attributes itself to the draining factor. You know, you are you're made to do this homework, you know, stuff to like benefit your grade, or else it's gonna take down your grade, and then, you know, family factors can get involved, and then not only that, you can get college, you know, people might not like your grades in college, and then you don't get accepted to college, the college that you want, because you just didn't do the homework or stuff like that. And, you know, that's fine. You know, it motivates you because you're like, oh, I want to get into the college I want. But at the same time, that is so draining to be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to pursue what I want to pursue in life if I don't get these good grades that are being shoved down my throat. When I feel like people would succeed more, personally, I feel like people would succeed more if they just had they were promoted to have natural curiosity towards the subjects that they were being faced with.
Yeah, and to know when they don't have to worry about, and to know when they are free to be curious about what they want to be curious about.
Yeah.
As opposed to having a subject that, like, hey, here's this subject. Like, you can be as curious as you want about this particular subject. And, like, that's fine and dandy.
I mean, like...
But to know when you can be curious about the things you want to be curious about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, truth. It can become kind of, especially when you're trying, like, if you're trying to work a job, which I'm just gonna quickly tap into the job thing since we're talking about COVID and change and all that. You know, when it came to having a job during COVID, not only were you going to, like, at least for us, you know, we went to our jobs, and for me, we had to deal with Karens. And Karens, my guy, dude. I'm sorry. If you are a believer in not wearing a mask when it was mandated, I'm sorry, but that's dumb. That is straight up dumb. Because that is so inconsiderate towards the people that could actually be gravely affected by having COVID. Sure, you might not have symptoms. Sure, you might not care about what happens to you. But what about the people that are going to be going home to their kids and their elderly, and just you could just, it's just a matter of being considerate. And that's another problem that I have with the way the vaccinations are going, with people being allowed to go back in stores without masks, you know, if they've been vaccinated. The whole thing that bothers me about that, because I love that we're going forward in society, right? The thing that bothers me...
change is good.
Absolutely. The thing that bothers me, though, is that even though they've said that vaccinations, you know, the people who get the sickness with vaccinations, that they're less likely to spread the disease, spread COVID. It's still I'm a little bit iffy on that one, but, you know, I don't know, so I can't say too much about that. It's just like, getting the vaccination protects you, wearing a mask protects others, and I feel like, just to be safe, it'd be nice if we could keep that in, at least. I wish people would be a little bit more considerate to that, but I don't know.
Because what I think not a lot of people consider, and I could be completely wrong about this, but from what I've seen, a fact that not a lot of people consider is that while you could be carrying it even if it doesn't affect you. Because you could be perfectly fine, but you could still be carrying the disease and spreading it. And it just will never affect you, so you'll never know.
And that's the thing about the vaccinations, is that they're saying that if you get COVID while having the vaccination, it's so great, the amount of COVID that is in you is so greatly reduced that it can't possibly be spread. But I'm a little hesitant to just be like, oh yeah, that's just going to be for everyone, I guess. I don't know.
Because and we've seen how quickly the COVID virus can evolve.
Yeah.
Like, how many different iterations have we went through within just the past year?
Yeah, dude. It's like because, like, I don't know. It's like, come on, please, can we just, like,
essentially wear your mask even if you're fucking vaccinated, dudes. Come on.
Yeah, just to be safe, you know? Like, if we had just immediately everyone wearing their masks, staying home, staying socially distanced at the very beginning, you know, we
could be out of it by now.
We probably wouldn't have to deal with this. I mean, think about polio. Like, if I'm remembering right, the polio, you know, thing happened and it just spread everywhere, right? And then or was it Black Death? Hold on, I'm actually gonna search it up because I don't want to.
Or was it SARS? Was it SARS?
SARS was another form of the COVID thing, and it was in China.
Oh yeah,
I believe, and it was actually in the same kind of area, and people locked everything down super quickly, and it just faded off. But I want to check this polio virus,
because like it's only become so bad because we allowed it to be.
Yeah. Quarantine. I just really want to make sure that I'm not spreading misinformation.
No, yeah, I get you. Unfortunately, though, we are running short on time.
Yeah. Da 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 da.
Da 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 da.
What we call official. God, I was just reading about it too. I think it was either early Europe thing that I'm thinking of, or it was polio.
It was some like bigger disease at any rate.
Oh yeah, I think it was one that's very, very well known, and
they handled it the way COVID should have been handled.
Yeah, everyone locked down, and
By the way, fuck Florida. Because they were just like, ooh.
I still can't get over the fact that people just went to the beaches and were like, oh, it's gonna be fine.
Like this is fine. Ignore the people that are in hospitals from it. This is fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, I consider myself very lucky that I haven't gotten it, just with the amount of exposure to people I've had.
Yeah.
So,
jeez, polio's intense, man. I'm just reading about this. This is wow. 21,269 people experienced paralysis because of polio.
Jesus. Hey, and here's what we were talking about: natural curiosity.
Yeah, dude, we're just like figuring. Wow, this is actually really fitting. Okay, but I want to see it. Was it Black Death? It was one of the biggest ones. Black Death,
yeah.
Quarantine. Yes, quarantine measures were taken in London. Can we speed it up? Okay, thank you. Now,
well, the thing is, I think like the rest of the world is doing pretty great. I think it's just the U.S. that's behind on things.
I think so. No, India's really struggling, and I feel bad about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, but like Europe's doing great from what I've heard.
Curb the outbreak. I really want to find it, dude. It's so it was so like interesting, and it made me think about COVID and everything.
Well, I think if it is the Black Death, I think the difference is it has death in the name, so maybe that just motivated people more.
Well, so the plague still took. The Venetians went as far as to establish a complete quarantine island to lock things down from the Black Death, and still 100,000 people died in which is a pretty intense it says here that it's a pretty intense proportion of the Venetian population.
Yeah,
but let's see, I really want to find it. I wish I had saved that site, because basically to kind of if anyone can inform me in the comments, that'd be lovely, because I really want to know this actually. I want to know what this was, because I remember it. It was basically this started happening and people locked down for 2 weeks, and then things were fine again, pretty much.
Yeah,
and that's
we're approaching the 1.5 year mark for this.
Yeah, and it's still it's a pretty big issue worldwide. I don't know, man. It feel like COVID forced people to change, and some people were very against it. Again, working at a job and during this pandemic really just showed me how people, at the very beginning at least, people were very, very against it. The whole mask mandate. I mean, one of my first days working my job, a guy came in without a mask, right? And I was like, "Oh, hey, can you make sure to wear a mask?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey, do you have a mask that you can wear?" And he's like, "No." And then he was gone. And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna need to talk to a manager about that, make sure that gets sorted out." And I was like, "Okay, all right, sweet, blah 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 blah." I start moving towards a manager, and then a lady comes in with a mask, and she goes off on me.
Why?
She goes off on me because I didn't handle that person without a mask. And it's like, look, man, dude, all I can do is just say, please wear a mask. And if they don't listen to me, I just have to get somebody else. I can't literally just be like, I'm putting a mask on you. I can't do that.
Yeah. And that's essentially assault if you do that.
Yeah. And so, besides that, that was fun, and I get it. People were upset that masks weren't being mandated, but it's I can't really control that. On the other hand, though, there were the people that were very against it. For example, one guy, I heard this story from where I work. I feel maybe I told you. Guy comes. I think I know what you're. Guy comes in the store without a mask. He walks right in because probably somebody didn't tell him, and then he is told to wear a mask. Like, hey, can you wear a mask? And his response to this, grab glass containers of juice and slam it on the ground and basically have a temper tantrum. Breaking stuff. Like, that is the most ridiculous thing. The fact that the biggest problem with that is, like, are you really so against change that you're gonna have a genuine temper tantrum in a store setting? Like, really?
It's like, come on. It's like, and the worst part is, like, you're supposed to be an adult about this. You're supposed to be setting an example for like the younger kids.
It's
all you're showing is that it's okay to throw glass on the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, that just, like, there's a great Shane Top clip from a Try Not to Laugh video that I might want to show you at some point if I haven't already, where Shane Top's from Smosh and they were doing a Try Not to Laugh thing, and he made a bit where he's like, he has like a hoodie wrapped around his neck and he's like walking around this like pretend store. He's like, put it in the bag, and then someone's like, hey, can you wear a mask? And then him and his character goes, no, I can't have empathy, no. And he just starts freaking out on the, like, he starts like dying on the ground. He's like, I'll die if I have empathy. And it's like, honestly, that's a pretty, you know, it's over the top, but at the same time, some people genuinely freak out.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
Well, like, plus, it's not even that big of a thing. It's literally, it's just a mask.
Yeah, I will say,
it's not a big thing.
You know, as far as the educational thing, you know, for high school students being in high school or in this pandemic and everything, I will say, props to the freaking schooling system for being like, yeah, wear a damn mask or I'm sending you home. Like, thank you.
They did a great job with the mask thing. I will give them that.
Like, let's just respect. I thought they were gonna wuss out because they kind of wussed out on some other things.
But no, they were like, wear a mask or go the fuck home.
Yeah, I respected that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, some places they're a little too strict on it with it. Cause like outside in the courtyard, they're like, you have to wear your mask.
But at the same time, out in the courtyard, everybody's like 2 inches away from each other's faces.
No, yeah, I'm not saying, I'm like, it makes sense, but at the same time, don't get kids in hella trouble for not wearing a mask while they're eating. So it's just like,
well,
but
yeah.
Other than that, they've done a great job with it.
Yeah, I think, you know, at least while they're eating, you can't really like stop people from doing that. They have to eat. Yeah, and so like that's of course a problem with just like the way, I guess, lunch and everything was set up. But at the same time, you know, you can't stop everything. At the very least, while they were in the school, you know, you were forced to. You know, at the very least, that was the case.
They did a great job with that.
Yeah.
So for all its flaws, the school handled that very well, or the educational system handled that very well.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, besides the confusion and stuff that I feel like could have been handled better, it's just tough. The pandemic made things really difficult, and while we can all say that, you know, like, I think if they had just been furthering natural curiosity, maybe things could have gone better for a lot of different students that are struggling, including myself. You know, it could have gone better, but at the same time, you know, you can't really help it. You just got to be able to adapt, you know. And I think that's what COVID taught everyone, is that no matter what the circumstances, you need to be able to adapt to it and handle it. And I think whether that be adapting to it like we did, where we just kind of started falling off the railings and we're like, you know what, I'm just doing music, or it be I'm gonna go hard on school and figure my stuff out, get really good grades and all that, then, you know, that's just how different people adapt and different people handle things. We over here are just so involved in music at this point and so passionate about it that our brains have a very difficult time thinking about basically anything else. Like, it is our coping mechanism, it is our escape, it is our way of expression, it is our joy and passion. Like, it is so what we are curious about, you know?
Yeah, so
I mean,
I think
I
don't have much else to say on the subject of that.
Yeah, I think you know, we kind of just went on rants and we said what we said, and we'd love to get some responses. So I love conversation starters. So if you have anything you would disagree with, I'd love to just like explain a little bit more in detail, you know. So if you have any questions in the comments, please shoot it at us. Like, we would love to respond. And it'd be nice to have a community. But besides that, desperate sounding attempt. I really enjoyed this. I like that, you know, the beginning half I think was rough for both of us to like figure out exactly what topic we're going to go down. I think the second half was better.
Oh yeah, well, like I think too, we just had so much to get out in the beginning half.
Yeah. It was kind of like, oh boy, that's a heavy one, because it's a little complicated because every student's different and every student's going to handle things differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the end of this one. Maybe we'll revisit this topic at some point in the future when we're older and see what
graduated.
Yeah, see what our thoughts are on it in hindsight. But for now, honestly, I think that's it, and we'll be back next week with another topic to slam down everyone's throats. And please, in the comments, tell us what we can improve on. We're trying to figure things out. We want to get things to go really smoothly, and we want it to be enjoyable. And so if you could give us some tips and tricks on what might make these podcast episodes a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun, go for it. Please shoot it at us. We'd love the feedback. And we're having a blast doing it, just talking.
For sure.
This has been so fun. So yeah, honestly, just hit us up in the comments and hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, seriously. Shall we do our outro?
Let's do it. If you want to follow along with the podcast, then you can go ahead and subscribe and gently fondle that notification bell. And then every week you can come be cozy with KOZIES.
Let's go.
I'm sticking with that. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sticking with it. You're gently fondling the freaking notification bell. Like, go ring-a-ding-a-ding-ding. For those of you who are just listening, I looked at Josh and I stroked in his general direction and made a ring-a-ding-a-ding sound.
I think we should end this before you get any more weird ideas.
You know what? That's fair. So again, goodbye. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll be back next week. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.
All right. Okay.